go. We're back. Here we are. We are back. Thank you for joining us, Black Veteran. Now, I know last time we talked, I was going over some of the different things that's happening in the military. Now, I'm going to go over some more things in detail from my perspective. A black straight male. Just letting you know how things are going from my experience, from what I've seen, what's actually happening. First, I'm going to talk about a situation that happened to a colleague where this individual filed an actual EO complaint against several members of the military. These members are high-ranking, E8, 05, and 06. That's a lieutenant colonel, a colonel. Oh yeah, I did forget. Also a brigadier general. And I'm just going to say, there's no surprise of the outcome. But I'm going to go into detail about that. So before I go into that, I do want to share something with you. Just to give you an idea of what to expect or what to think, or just give you an idea of what's happening. Let's go.
In the ranks.
Every single African American we've interviewed said they had to moderate their behavior so they weren't intimidated.
I had a very candid conversation with one of the individuals who passed me this information. He broke it down. You're big, you're black, with a deep voice. You're intimidating. And if you want to move on, you have to do something about it.
This week on 60 Minutes, we reported on racial bias in the military. The rank and file.
Did you hear that? Did you hear that? This individual had to change up his style of talking. This individual had to change up his point of view. He had to change up a couple of different things. Why is that? That's a very interesting to think. One of the things I want to go over and talk to you about, here's just some brief information here regarding discrimination. Perception that the military members or employees of the organization is denied equal opportunity or victim of unfair employment practice by virtue of their race, color, national origin, religion, sex, orientation, age, and disability. This came off of the Defense Equal Opportunity Management Institute. This is where a lot of people in the military get trained. That's in the EO realm or EO field. Not all, but a lot of them. So these people are supposed to get trained to be able to work an issue, to be able to visualize an issue, also to be able to fix an issue. But we both know sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Excuse me. So that being said, there's several issues or incidents that happened where they didn't do what they supposed to do. The same people who are supposed to help soldiers, airmen, members, Marines, seamen that come and have these complaints, have these issues, whether it's actual happening or perceived, they think it's going on. So you have people who will go to them, and sometimes it's a failure. Now, I'm going to go over this one incident again. These are not things that happened back in the 60s or 70s or 80s. These are not things that happened like so long ago when people will say, oh man, that was a long time ago. Things have changed since then. Well, the more things change, the more they stay the same. Um, here's a issue that happened. As you see, look at this date. How long ago was that? No, not even 3 years ago. Air Force EEO director was removed from position for improper handling of sexual harassment discrimination allegations. Now, the U.S. Office of Special Counsel sent a letter to the President and Congress alerting them of the Director of Equal Opportunity Office at Hill Air Force Base in northern Utah has been removed from her position. So when people think, oh, it's only men, no, it's not. For improperly and unlawfully handling complaints involving sexual harassment and discrimination. That was 3 members. Why did it take 3? I'm going to tell you why it took 3. Because sometimes when it's one person, they can dismiss it. When it's 2 people, some people may say, well, it's just those 2. 3, it got some attention. If it's 3, and from my experience, from what I've seen, from what I experienced, from what I know, it's a lot more than that. But the other ones may not want to go for the fight. The others may not want the repercussions or retaliations that come from it. So they just let it go. But these 3 did not. Now, this is what they're saying in that the director actively discouraged employees from filing EEO complaints, including telling one whistleblower that her later substantiated sexual harassment claims against supervisor wouldn't carry weight and wouldn't go anywhere when the whistleblower tried to file a complaint. Now, I can stop that right there. Stop right here. Why would that person say that? Now, I am not saying that EEO director was right. That EEO director was clearly wrong. It was not her place and was not her job to tell that person that it wouldn't go anywhere. It wasn't. It's not her place and not her job to say it wouldn't carry any weight. It is not. Your job is to be non-biased. Take their information and move it to the further channel in the process. That was her job. She clearly failed that job. Now, I also can say in that EEO director's head, she could have thought it may not went anywhere because her previous complaints didn't go anywhere. She could have thought it wouldn't carry any weight because previous complaints didn't carry any weight. Because at the end of the day, on each base, the commander of that base has a final say. Did y'all hear that correctly? The commander on that base can say whether this information can get moved up or receive the complaint, or if the complaint is come out to be non-substantiated, the commander can say yes to it because it's the commander's program. So she could have had a lot of experiences that it didn't go anywhere. But that still was not her job to say that. It was not her job to put that out there. So yes, she failed miserably on that. The other one here is that the director illegally modified and rejected the EO complaints. Now, if you remember what I just said earlier, it is not the EO director's job to modify, and it's definitely not the job to reject. So a person comes in, even if in your head it sounds out there, that is not your place. Your place is to take that information, help them go through the process, explain the process, and move it forward to the commanders and also to the state equal opportunity director. It is not that directors on that base job to reject anything. That is not her place there. So again, wrong. This one here, giving employees false and misleading information about the EEO process, including illegally denying whistleblowers the ability to remain anonymous. The informal stage of the EEO process, and telling a filer that she was not entitled to a filer claim when the filer was in fact entitled to do so. Also, failed to identify conflicts of interest by management during the EEO complaint mediation process, including allowing a senior official accused of wrongdoing in the whistleblower EEO filing to serve as a sole settlement authority for the agency during the whistleblower mediation. What I tell you, she was completely wrong. But a lot of times at this base level, if the commander says this person is in charge of the inquiry or that person is in charge of the mediation, most of the directors are either enlisted. You may have some officers, but they're a grade level officer, or 01 to maybe 03, maybe in some cases 04, rare cases 05s. But the commanders are colonels, lieutenant colonels, generals. So what do you think gonna happen? We're still in the military here. Chain of command is still a real thing here. So if a higher officer, higher military member give you an order, it's gonna get followed. I'm not saying it happened here. I was not there. But from my experience, I've seen where a captain who never went through any training, never did any investigation training, never did any EEO training, never did any of that, was told by a colonel, you're going to be in charge of this investigation. Did you think that captain said no? No. They went along with it, even though they had no clue what they were doing. So guess how that investigation turned out? Interesting. It turned out unsubstantiated. Why? Because they didn't know what they was doing, didn't know what questions to ask. This is not where some people think, oh, wow, discrimination, everyone knows what that looks like. Sexual harassment, everybody knows what that look like. There are blatant and overt ways that it has happened, but there are also ways, the subtle ways that if you ask the right questions, you would know and you could uncover some of the things there. So again, this is 2020, so it just happened. Another thing is when it comes down to that complaint process, there is a process to everything. And typically this is how it is. Again, go through the chain of command. And if that chain of command is part of the issue, what do you do there? You can see whether the complaint concerns alleging unlawful discrimination. Again, that's alleged. Keyword alleged. So when that person said, oh no, you can't do that, you haven't did the investigation yet. That's what they're alleging has happened. So if it's alleged discrimination, these are two panels you can go. And this is where it all can fall through the cracks. It all falls through the cracks because sometimes people will have their preconceived notions and won't pursue an issue, which is a problem. But this is what some people do. And another thing why this is happening, what do a person does? They get discouraged. They get frustrated. They get, some cases, more anxiety that's happening because you're dealing with this. Whether it could be just a miscommunication, it could be maybe that's a personality issue, or it could be discrimination. It could be all those things. That's the point of having the investigation, to try to determine a reasonable person determination is what they're looking at. Evidence, a preponderance of evidence. It's not like a court case or a law where you have to find 12 out of 12 juries have to convict, and you have to have all this burden of proof. Is what a reasonable person can determine whether it may not happen. There was another situation, again, not that long ago. We're looking at a situation that happened way back in 2018, way back, so not that long ago. This stuff still is going on in the U.S. military. This is where outnumbered 2-1. Civilians file far more discrimination complaints. That's true. But the equal opportunity process fought a risk for warriors. It may mask the full extent of racial discrimination because they can hide behind procedure. They can hide behind your chain of command. They can hide behind these things, and one person may get treated one way, another person may get treated worse, but they both could be on the verge of members could be on the verge of not abiding by a principle or not abiding by policy. But it's up to the commander and supervisors to enforce that. Sometimes they enforce it, sometimes they do not. So that's where a lot of this stuff has been going on. So let me just show you something really quick here. Let me get off of this. One of the things that people don't seem to understand, and what they don't understand, is why are you in the service? Yes, you hope and you believe in most cases where you are getting treated equally and you are getting treated fairly. You are. But the problem is there are those incidents where you're not. And when you're not, what do? As you've seen that one incident I showed you, a person did go and file the EO complaint. And look how that EO director did. So that's been an issue. And what a lot of people don't seem to understand is once you do that and nothing happened, or there's a situation where they may feel that it backfires or it gets worse, because that's what several members are saying here. Several members are saying that EO process often a dead end, resulting in little action, worse, backfire on the complaint. That's because the filing EA is often viewed as act of defiance to the military. No, there's no way we could do something like this. So let's say you come in and you've been doing your job in the service for 6 years. They said nothing to you about anything, and all this time you're feeling like you're being discriminated against over and over and over and over. So you finally go file a complaint, and then they say, okay. Now, again, since it's harder unless a person comes blatantly, say they don't like you because you're black, or blatantly say they don't like you because of you're white, or they don't like you because you like the same sex, or they don't like you because your religion belief. Unless they blatantly come out and say that, and you have it documented, recorded, and multiple witnesses, it's going to be hard to point out. It's going to be hard to point out. Even when there's a situation that happened on Barksdale Air Force Base, like this one here, unless they have something like this, a swastika. I don't know if you can see that or not. Let me see if I can get a little closer. Rise against your gravity. Unless you see this right here, this is gonna be hard. This is gonna be hard. It's gonna be tough to prove. But then you're gonna say, well, who did it? I don't know. It was already there. So again, this is what people deal with, and unless you're dealing with this stuff, it's hard to really truly understand unless you've been dealing with it. A lot of people have not. So this is why people feel like, oh, it's a dead end. It's not going anywhere. But that's the thing you gotta think about. So let's take a look at the substantiated and unsubstantiated. Now, there's a vast gap between uniformed military complaints and those in the civilian counterparts. In the Army, Navy, Air Force has not previously reported. Few troops complaints were substantiated. In 2009, 6% in the Navy was substantiated. That means 94 was not. 18% and 35% respectively in the Air Force and Army. That's pretty low, considering the amount of people that's in it. And again, if you're in a service, it doesn't mean you're a law-abiding citizen all the time. A lot of times it is. So I'm not taking that away. But they are human as well. Let's not forget, in the 40s and 50s, 60s and 70s, there was situations in areas where they were still segregated, and these members were still saying racial things outright. This equal opportunity and discrimination field or program or career wouldn't even exist in the military unless it was happening. So let's not act like it's not happening. So let's keep that in mind there. And see, you just see it right here. You over and over and over again, you see how people get judged. It gets judged. Even though you may have had a great time in the service, no one's taking that away. No one's taking away. But there's plenty of times where things happen while you're in, and a lot of other people that's in the military do not experience it. They just do not. Not saying that they're culprits, not saying that they're involved, but they just don't experience. So if you don't experience it, you wouldn't know. So don't just say, oh no, that couldn't happen, that's impossible. You just didn't experience it. Here again, experience in the Navy. It's been a great one, but he ran into people that only judge me by the color of my skin, not by the quality of my work. It happens a lot. And this is the thing that people deal with. This is the thing. And that's where it all comes into this field. A lot of people believe that it just don't happen. So one thing I want to show you really quickly here is this document here. Person filed the EO complaint. It was with the high ranking, as you see, a wing commander. And when it's filed against wing commander, the EO, it goes to the IG. Now, this person said to me, let me just say this person said, when he was on the phone talking with the investigator didn't have a clue of the EO process. Again, he was in IG. This investigator used to be a commander. This investigator was an officer. So already, just on the outside, before the individual opened his mouth, because again, you going off of what person say, and you going into it thinking that the process is going to be non-biased. During the conversation, this person was telling that this the person that felt discriminated against was stating that every time that they mentioned a issue or a problem, the investigator was saying, well, as a commander, I was a commander. As a commander, this commander doesn't know that detail, or the commander wouldn't do that, or it's against the law for the commander to do this. And the person mentioned, like, hey, this happened to me. I've seen it happen. It happened to me. I believe it happened to others. Here are the other people's names. Here's the names of the people that witnessed this. And that investigator said, well, I'm not trying to be biased, but a commander wouldn't know your religious belief. A commander wouldn't know what your orientation is. And how did this investigator know? So the person mentioned, like, sir, did you already do the investigation? Did you already talk to people? Did you already? No. But you're saying what the commander wouldn't know without even talking to see if the commander did know. So, not saying the commander knew or not, but the fact is, this investigator was automatically going in that direction. So, what do you think happened in this case? If the investigator was already leaning towards what the commander couldn't have done, it could have been a million different reasons. He stated it could be a million different reasons. It may not be because you're black. It may not be because you're a man. It may not be because of your religion belief. There's a million different reasons. But it also could be that reason too. This is the point of the investigation. But as it went on, and the investigation was complete, guess what came back? Guess what? Come back saying this. Let's see if I can go this up. Ooh, that's a little too far. Come back saying, according to there's insufficient evidence any wrongdoing. Really? Oh, didn't I tell you? This person gave me a call after this. It was like, hey, I got this document. I don't know what to do. I got this. I got this document. I don't know what to do about it. What am I supposed to do? And I asked them, like, okay, well, what happened in the investigation? Did they talk to your witnesses? Did they talk to the other people that some of the same stuff was happening to them? Did they even have that conversation? Lo and behold, they did not. That person told me, like, no. I asked everybody that I put on my witness list. I asked everybody that I put on that it happened to them too. And this investigator did not talk to a single one of them. Didn't talk to none of them. So how could you get enough evidence? Oh wait, I can see how you didn't get any evidence of wrongdoing because you only asked one side. That's like a prosecutor. prosecutor only talk to one side. They don't care. You even though the defense is up there, the defense witnesses are there, but the judge don't even talk to the defense witness. The judge don't even talk to them. The jurors don't even hear what the defense witnesses have to say. They just listen to whatever prosecutor. Yes, if you only look at one side, what option are you gonna get? Again, I'm not saying this actually happened or this person was discriminated against. But when you only look at one side, you don't even know. You don't even hear the other side of things. And to make matters 100% worse, the director of the inquiry officials from the United States was okay with that. So what did this person go when the director of special investigations look at this and only one side was interviewed, and they don't even care? What is that telling that person that feel like they're being discriminated against? Like the whole military is against them. Let that sink in. What do you do? Just let that sink in for a minute. While that's sinking in, I got another thing just want to show you. For those who still like, nah, not my military. This can't possibly happen. Really?
The military facilitated my social mobility. As a Black female from a small town in Southwest Georgia who came from very humble beginnings to now being a medical professional and a retired military officer, that means a lot. I was the only Black female squadron commander, and I got called the N-word, and I went to my boss, and she said, "Oh, I still have people who use that word in my family," and nothing was done about, it's like over and over and over again.
For me, as the daughter of an immigrant, there was such a dire want to be part of this country. You go on and you put on a uniform and you're told you're going to be the same as everybody else. It was a course on Latin America, and I remember I was like so excited because these were my roots. And a high-ranking Border Patrol agent was asked to speak to the class, and when he described a migrant in the desert, he was like, we found this dead woman in a drainage pipe, and people laughed. And I went to the bathroom, I threw up, and then I cried in my car during the lunch break.
Every time I brought up an issue where I was having problems, it got swept under the rug, but I was held accountable where other people were not. So I don't know if it was because they didn't like me because I was Black or because I was whatever, but being the only Black officer on the ship and I was the only one having problems, I assume race had something to do with it.
I was a residency trained, but I was a Black female when most flight surgeons are white male. So it took a really long time for me to gain their trust. They told my boss that they're afraid of me.
I had to decide between re-enlisting or getting out, and I decided to get out.
The Air Force has a chief of staff who's a Black male. Secretary Austin is a Black male, but that's one cycle. The systemic racism is centuries old. It's going to take more than one cycle of leadership. It's like turning an aircraft carrier. It takes a long time.
Hi, it's Congressman.
So there you are. It's happening. It's going to keep happening unless we all notice it, point it out, call it out. And what the famous line Kurt Herm Edwards stated, either you coaching it or you're allowing it. It's that simple. So either these units, commanders, soldiers, airmen, sailors, Marines, either they're coaching it or they're allowing it. We got to stop this. We got to stop this now. Hope y'all enjoyed this little bit of information I provided for you today. So, definitely feel free to leave a comment below. Let me know if you experience some of the same things. Let me know if you knew someone that experienced some of the same things. Again, people come to me. People talk to me. People let me know. And I'm here to do what I can, push forth this information, and direct these individuals to the right place to go. So, these individuals that came to me, they're going to other places. They're going to outside sources. They're going to outside sources. They're going to their congressmen. They're going to their senators. They're going to other people outside this chain of command, because this has to stop. All right, catch you next time. Feel free to, like I said, like, share, leave a comment. Catch you on the next one.